La Rochelle put in a display worthy of defending champions. My name is Mark, let's talk rugby. Quick start from La Rochelle to this one. Ben Earl gets pinged for holding on just after the kickoff. Hastoi splits the post from in front, 3-0. Benny Vunipola then, he gets pinged a couple of minutes later for not rolling away. Hastoi strokes it over from just inside the half, 6-0. Then a couple of minutes after that, Hastoi has another kick, but this time he hits the post. Saracens finally get themselves some ball after that. Maitland with a great hit on Aldrete forces the knock on, and they have a scrum. Then win a penalty from the scrum, decide to go up the line. They then, they win another scrum. They decide to attack off the back of that in the shadow of the post, but La Rochelle are able to keep them out. Dillon goes for an intercept, but he knocks it on. It's another scrum to Saracens. There was no question of, deliberate knock on or anything like that. He was going with two hands, genuinely trying to claim the ball, and he would have been away if he had got it as well. But from the scrum, then La Rochelle put the pressure on. When Saracens tried to move it, they forced an error, turn it over, and kick clear. We then have a scrum that's just reset a number of times. La Rochelle puts a squeeze on that to get the ball out. Couple of phases. Skelton is running the ball, but he knocks it on. Maylands then counters, and we have a good kick through. It forces a knock on close to the line. Saracens then win a penalty for not releasing right in front of the post. So Farrell decides to take the points. They pop it over 6-3. But even though they've just got themselves on the board and reached the deficit, they have a big blow coming because at the same time they lose Benny Vunipola to injury. He had to go off on a stretcher. So hopefully it's nothing too serious and it's not going to affect his World Cup. Bhatia then manages to get over the ball. He wins another penalty, and Hastoi does the honours from the tee. It's 9-3 to La Rochelle. And yeah, this is something I had to say from my notes. So it's like, because I would have forgotten this, but Austin Healy, like, what is he doing on commentary? Like, the guy is so biased and he's really annoying in commentary as well. I wonder, English fans, do you find him annoying as well? Or is it just, people who are, quote unquote neutral in games? Like, if he's like biased towards your team, do you mind it or not? Because I couldn't stand them all through the game, and I try to be as unbiased as I can. Apart from when Leinster are playing, or maybe like other Irish teams as well, I cheer them on. But games like this, I just want to see a good game of rugby. But yeah, that guy, geez, so one-eyed. Next, then from there, Maylands, he takes a quick tap, and Saracens get themselves deep into the La Rochelle 22. He gets off to Farrell, and then Farrell onto Itoje, but Itoje knocks it on. La Rochelle then able to clear from the base of the scrum. We then have good carries from Skelton, Dante, and Wardy, get La Rochelle into good position, and Carvalho does a wrap around Aldrete, who, lovely hands from Aldrete, puts him through a hole, and he goes over to score. It's converted by Hastoi, and we're at 16-3. And it feels, even at this stage, like it's a big lead given how the game has gone. It feels like it's going to be, a low scoring encounter, not like the ones that we've seen in all of the other quarterfinals. Saracens then get pinged for a side entry into ruck. It's a kickable penalty, but La Rochelle decide to go to the corner. It's just before half time. Feels like they're looking to kill the tie right here and now. But the line-out goes awry as Ezekwe gets up, he disrupts it, and then La Rochelle knock on. halftime score is 16-3. So Sarries in that first half haven't really been in the game, and anytime they have gotten forward, La Rochelle have gotten over the ball and won the penalty and just completely disrupted them. La Rochelle, playing with a blitz defense, Sarries are trying to get it out to the width where there is space, but they're just, they're not able to move the ball quickly enough because they're playing flat as well. So it means that when they're trying to pass across the front, eventually the blitz is in their face, and it's either mistakes or they get wrapped up, get isolated, and get turned over. Into the second half, then, excuse me, MacLeod gets pinged for diving off his feet. It's one of these, we saw it in one of the other games as well. I think one of the games yesterday, where you're not allowed to dive at the scrum half within 1.5 meters of the ruck and try and knock the ball out of his hands. That's what he did, so he gets pinged for that. It's a penalty to La Rochelle. They go up the line from that. Sarries, though, they do well to turn it over, but then Tompkins, there's a break on. Tompkins passes straight into touch. Very silly, they hadn't that many chances in the first half, and this was a great chance just to get upfield. You could say the players outside of maybe overran it a little bit, but if the players are ahead of him, he should just hold on to the ball and wait till they realign a little bit, and then try and give the pass. But straight into touch from him. But they do manage to win a penalty at the breakdown, and are able to clear. La Rochelle then lose Bougeret to injury as well, so a big ball carrier gone for them too. Van Zyl from there, he makes a break for Sarries, but Bottia gets over the ball, and it's another breakdown penalty to La Rochelle. Bottia was amazing today. The guy was everywhere, and he won so many penalties and turnovers. It's just crazy. From there, then La Rochelle, then they get another penalty for a high tackle. Sarries get a warning from the referee. La Rochelle decide to go to the corner. They go to their big men, but Sarries this time, they're able to get over the ball and clear from the penalty as Delan got himself isolated. Again, both teams did really well at the breakdown. Talked about Bottia for La Rochelle, but then you had the likes of Itoje and Earl as well for Sarries, getting in there and winning those turnovers. And after that, then another Maro Itoje turnover. So Bottia tries to run it out of his own 22. He gets tackled. Itoje is straight over on the latched onto the ball. From that penalty, then Sarries go to the corner. They win the line out. Then they have a ruck close to the line. They're pick and going. They're within 1 meter of the line. Tompkins then, for some reason, he decides to go in thinking that the forwards need help to get it out. And instead what happens is he picks the ball up standing at the back of the ruck and gets absolutely swarmed and held up in the tackle. Then once a maul is called, La Rochelle bring it to the floor, and it's a turnover. He's better off just leave that stuff to the forwards. They know what they're doing in that kind of position. Or if you're going to go in, just do what a scrum half would do and either pass it or snipe, but don't just stand up and try. I don't know what he was doing. But from there, La Rochelle then win the penalty at the scrum. And yeah, at this point, I just can't see a way back for Sarries into the game. Sarries, they do win a penalty. La Rochelle kick the ball away. They get marched back 10 meters. Farrell goes back to the corner. They try to put it through the hands from the line out, but it goes to the deck as they were looking for some space out wide. La Rochelle then win a penalty again at the scrum. And from there, they work their way upfield and they strike again. we have, they were on attack, looked like they'd lost momentum, and Sarries were containing them, but then Dulon makes a bit of a break. They then get the ball. This is kind of on the left. They shift it out to the right then. Bottia bursts through, finds Caraballo, who scores. The conversion is missed, but we're at 21-3. Sarries then, from there, they're on the attack, but the move breaks down. Scrum to La Rochelle, 10 metres from their own line. Sarries win the penalty at the scrum this time. They decide to go back to the corner. And, all this time, they've had so many chances going to the corner and just not converting. Sclavi, though, just lying on the ball. Like it was like a, I don't know what, like a Playboy model or something, just lying there on top. And not bothering to even try to, not just make an effort to roll away, but not even trying to make it look like he's making an effort to roll away. So it's another penalty to Sarries. They tap this one. Feel like they absolutely have to score here, but again, the move breaks down. But they did have another penalty. From there, then they go to, keeping it tight, pick and goes. Maui seems to get it down, but then we have a TMO check to see if the grounding is okay. After, a couple of angles checked, try is good. It's converted by Farrell, 21-10. Still not convinced that, Sarries can get enough opportunities and take them to actually work their way back, though. Then a minute or two later, Hastoy, another long-range penalty, strokes this one over, makes it 24-10. And 14 points looks like a long, long way for this Sarries side, the way they're playing today. Sarries, though, they're trying to find that space that's there, out on the edges, but just being absolutely smashed in the tackle. But then they do finally get outside of La Rochelle's blitz. Ben Earl shows some good pace. They put it through the hands. Have a high tackle from Dulon. It's close to the line. That earns him a yellow card. Austin Healy's talking about like penalty tries and blah, blah, blah. But you can see that like there's plenty of cover in behind. And like, again, just so one-eyed. But from there, then Sarries attack close to the line. They get held up over the line, and La Rochelle have a goal line dropout, but they kick it out on the full. So, and you're feeling like, is this a bit of a wobble now from La Rochelle when they've looked comfortable the whole game? Saracens up for the scrum. Earl goes off the back. He gets halted on the line. Itoje then drives over, but he gets held up as well. Great defense from La Rochelle. This time they're able to clear, and just after that, then Wollstonecroft gets a yellow card for a dangerous clear out at the ruck. He hit Skelton in the head. Like the referee Paul Brace, he was basically talking, about it's dangerous play. There's no mitigation. It's a red card, etc. Then Joy Neville, the TMO, I think, correctly talked him down to a yellow card, which I think was probably the right call. But surprise, surprise, Austin Healy didn't see anything wrong with it. He just said it's a cleared out at a ruck. But we know that the rules are there. Like if you clear out dangerously, it's going to be at least a penalty, and you're looking at, like in the current environment, a sanction of either a yellow or a red card. So I don't know why he's surprised that they're looking at it after calling the whole game about, they need to look at this, they need to look at that, but always just in favour of Saracens. But we've only got a few minutes left now, and both teams are down to 14 for the rest of the game. La Rochelle, then they're looking to put the cherry on top of the cake. We have a line out that goes over the top. It's gathered by somebody at the back who goes over and grounds, but then we have a TMO check because Tanga knocked it on in the line out, so it's no try, and that's pretty much the final act of any significance in the game. Final score is 24-10, La Rochelle into the semi-finals. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the stats from the game. We'll start with possession. So La Rochelle had 49% to Saracens 51. Fairly even, but again, La Rochelle did more with their possession than Saracens did. Like territory as well, 44 to 56. So Saracens having the bulk of territory, but we've seen in the knockout stage of this competition, it's not who is the team camped, in the opposition's half for the whole game. It's a team who can get in and get out with points, and that's who we're seeing winning these games. I think the whole thing of a big team just sitting on the opposition's line and just eventually, wearing them down and getting over doesn't seem to be happening at all this year. Seems to be a lot of, as I said, teams get in, they have a certain, strike play in mind, or they just, have a good move already in terms of, turnover ball or whatever. But they're getting in there, they're scoring the points, and they're getting out. And the teams who are getting bogged down near the line are the ones who are coming up the losers. In terms of tries, 2 tries to 1. So a lot lower scoring than the other quarterfinals that we've seen, but still I found it pretty exciting because, although Saracens didn't really look like that, that they were going to come back, still once a team gets a try, it's rugby, momentum just completely, turn on its head, and suddenly the team that looked imperious are making mistakes left, right, and centre, and the team who were dead and buried are back within a score or something. So still a pretty good game. Clean breaks then, 3 for La Rochelle, 6 for Saracens. But again, like Saracen clean breaks, a lot of them ended up with Bottia getting over the ball and winning a turnover for La Rochelle. Meters made 325 to 375. So, not a hugely running game from either team, but still for 2 teams who are known for having big packs that like to kind of carry it into tight. It's still, a decent effort from both of them. Turnovers 16 each. It really was the battle of the breakdown here in terms of turnovers. I said Bottia was there. Dante was also dangerous at the breakdown as well for La Rochelle. You had Itoje, Earl, and Asikwe for Saracens too, and then the backs getting involved as well. So, both teams really attacking the breakdown when they saw that it was on and having good success as well. Penalties conceded, 14 for La Rochelle and 18 for Saracens. I think La Rochelle's penalty count against another team, if they had played any of the other winners from this weekend, that penalty count might have been something that caused them problems. As it was, because Saracens were conceding more penalties than them, it didn't have that much of an effect, especially because Saracens were trying to go for the corner, anytime that they got close, rather than kicking for the posts. So the penalties in the end weren't really reducing the deficit. For Saris, it's 18 is just way too many penalties to be giving up. Like we've seen, like most of the teams that won giving 10 or fewer penalties away, some as low as like 6 or so. And if you're going to give that many penalties away, and it's against a team like La Rochelle who are able to punish you, you need to have something really special to keep you in the game, and I just didn't have that today. Now, in terms of the teams from here, so Saris, just couldn't take their chances when they were presented with them, and once the gap got beyond 7 points, never really got the feeling that they could turn it around. They will be back next year, but I'm thinking maybe it's time for some new faces in that team after the Rugby World Cup. Maybe a couple of the senior players are going to retire, and maybe they can refresh the squad. I think that would be good, because I think for it's kind of a fine line, right, with a team who have a lot of success with a certain group of players. It gets to a point where there is it like an advantage to have them around because they have that experience and that kind of ability to win those tight games for you, or is it better to have some fresh faces in, some maybe new ideas, have just a new kind of energy come into your squad, and those that remain from the experienced group can kind of get rejuvenated from that. So I think maybe they've reached that point where they need to do that, but watch them keep the same players next year and just absolutely destroy everyone in this competition and prove me wrong. In terms of La Rochelle, then, like Sarries tried to stretch them and run them off their feet, thinking, it's a really big pack. It's funny, like Sarries actually somehow had the heavier pack today. But when you think like you've got Antonio and Skelton in the La Rochelle pack, like between the two of them, like they're almost in a pack themselves. So I don't know how they did, but yeah, Sarri's trying to run them off their feet. But the problem was that Bottio was just everywhere today, and he was doing the running for the likes of Antonio and Skelton. And Skelton, for his part, then he was making crazy meters after contact when he was carrying, like even from a standing start, he was still getting 2, 3, 4 more strides, and each of those, 1.5 meters, 2 meters as well. From here, though, they have Exeter in Bordeaux in the semi-final. They're definitely going to be favourites for that game, but they need to be, cautious because Exeter have now put out the French champions and the URC champions back to back. So they've shown that they're not going to, lie down in the semi-final. And I think the semi-final matchups that we have, like both of them, I think are going to be very close affairs. And I could see, I could make an argument for any of those teams winning their semi-final and also for any of those teams going on to win the tournaments as a whole. Like normally, or well, not normally, but a lot of the time in a semi-final, you'll have a team who are considered a bit of an underdog and maybe a bit of a soft touch for whoever's playing against them. But like looking at the teams in there, like you got Leinster, Toulouse, La Rochelle, and Exeter. Exeter, you'd probably say, would be the weaker of the teams, but again, beating the French champions, beating the URC champions, why not knock out the defending champions in Bordeaux as well? So it's going to be an exciting semi-final. I can't wait for it. I'm thinking of possibly doing a watch-along with those. So let me know if you would have any interest in that, because I don't want to be doing a watch alone and just it be me talking to like fresh air. So even if there's just like a handful of people, I'm happy enough to do it because I love chatting about rugby. I love just interacting with people who also love rugby as well. But that is the last of our quarter final match reviews. The amazing thing is the home sides have now won every last 16 and quarterfinal tie. Normally, we have that rule of thumb, which is 1 in 4 away games will be won. But this year, nothing like that has happened. Let's see, is it going to happen in the semi-finals? I will have a wrap-up video out on Tuesday for the quarterfinals where we just talk a little bit about the games and the semi-final matchups. I'll also have a wrap-up for the Challenge Cup, which I couldn't cover because obviously it's on at the same time as these games. So I don't like to cover games that I don't watch, completely start to finish, and I love to watch them live as well. But we will have wrap-ups for both sets of quarterfinals probably on Tuesday. Then towards the end of the week, then we're looking at Women's Six Nations returning, and we got URC as well. So there's going to be plenty more videos coming. So keep an eye out for those.